Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen J Lotus Pimp Sunkiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast. Maybe. Honestly, absolutely not right quick, right fast. As the pattern has run with these Lovecraft reviews. So I have come back with another Lovecraft Country review. Of course, season 1, the only season they had. Episode 7. I Am. This is a very popular episode as it explores mainly Hippolyta going through a multitude of different time spans, eras, decades, things of that nature, and inevitably discovering different truths of her identity to herself and being very relatable in the process. Now, child, when it comes to these Lovecraft reviews, I'm gonna try to get them out as fast as I can. I done finished my wife and kids and all of that, but Lovecraft is much more layered, honey. And I do plan to do other videos on the symbolisms and spirituality and all that. It's just all the same when you're trying to review it. You have no choice but to tap a little bit into the extracurricular activities of it all. And this is one of those episodes where it's inevitable for you to tap into the extracurricular activities of it all. But I'm gonna try to sum it up in no more than an hour and 30 minutes for this review. Now, I ain't gonna waste no more time. Gonna get right into it for the specificities of this episode and my quotes and conversations. So we pick back up in a scene that we didn't get to see in one of the other episodes, which is where, okay, so honey, bear with me. I do specificities in the other symbolism videos and all that, but there was an episode where Hippolyta and Diana went their own way, okay? And when they went their own way, Hippolyta was set out on finding out what really happened to George. And I think they end up linking back up by way of the, I want to call it a sundial. That's not what it is. The astrological system figurine. Orrery. That's what it's called. That's what they call it on here. Orrery. They end up linking back up by way of that orrery because Hippolyta took it from Letty's house, and Atticus ended up discovering that she had it. They ended up coming together. Hippolyta activated it. They got assaulted by some cops, and Hippolyta, in this episode, we find out for a fact that she ended up getting sucked into it. But before then, we see her at like this wasteland, and Diana is low-key haki telling her in the midst that like, I don't think we should be out here, and Hippolyta is just going through like all of the material of the wasteland is droughted. It's some shit that done fell apart. She done picked up something that got like a sunset figurine type on it, or sunrise type figurine shit on it. She's just going through the ruins of this particular area and comparing it to what she knows about the orrery. So we're getting flashes of that scene and then back to flashes of the scene of her in her room with the orrery, trying to figure out how to make it work, and also getting flashes of Diana being like, I'm tired of this granddaddy, and Hippolyta in so many times being like, well, that's too damn bad. So at a point, Hippolyta picks up this disheveled, burned piece of paper that reads off Orinthia Blue, and this is one of the comics that Diana has created. So it creates this, weird questioning by way of the audience and by way of the character Hippolyta. She's like saying he was here because in order for this page to be here, which is one of the pages that Dee showed him before they set off on their journey in the very first episode, maybe the first or second episode, but I feel like it's the very first episode when they set off into the sundown towns and all of that. Dee was showing George her comics that she had created, and the name of it was Orinthia Blue. And in this episode, we discovered that it was heavily inspired by Hippolyta and all of that. So Hippolyta finding this page, reading off Orinthia Blue, and it's in the same illustration and everything that Diana created. She's like, yes, George was here, right here in this particular space. And some lies have been told to me, and I'm coming upon the truth, because if this is here, that means George was here because Diana gave him this page. So she's recognizing that things are being hidden from her in a grander perspective than what she originally initiated. So we pick back up with her laying in the bed saying that she's sorry and she just can't figure it out. She can't figure out how the orrery works. She can't figure out how George actually died. She just knows that she's constantly being lied to. But as she's laying in the bed and she looks at the orrery, and she's looking at it from the perspective and the diagonal which she's laying at and which the orrery is laying at, she has a light bulb moment where she's like, they need to tilt based on how they rotate on their axis. Okay, so this enlightens her on some more shit. She starts tinkering with it based off that enlightenment and that perspective, and it starts lighting up, child. It starts lighting up, and it starts spinning on its own and doing its thing. And she's looking at it like, oh my gosh, okay, I done cracked the code. I done discovered some shit. And the spherical element that's on the very top of it starts to open. She reaches toward it. She pulls out this key looking figurine. It is a key type shit, and she's reading it. Every beginning is in time, and every limit of extension in space. It has these numbers 39805499995 and some more shit. It's a bunch of numbers right under it. And when I do my spiritual deep dives, we'll go deeper into those numbers. But you should understand that those numbers also have some sort of meaning. That's just a code that the English language is not in alignment with. But in our hoop, essentially, she has cracked the code and key on that good old orrery. Now that leads us to the title screen intro, and then we pick back up with Christina and Ruby. And Christina done took Ruby down here to the basement because remember previously, child, I'm finna call her Karina, Katrina, some of everybody. Christina got caught up metamorphosizing out of her William flesh. Okay, she got caught by Ruby. Now Ruby realizes that it's been some trickery dickery doc going on. So Christina is ready and here to spill, at least all of the tea that she wants to spill. Okay, because she done gave Ruby a whole lot of information, but then she done deprived her of a whole lot of information as well. So really, all Christina got to do is tell her a whole lot of anything for Ruby to be latched on to it, because now she is desperate to know some things, because she done been through a whole lot of things and invested a whole lot of energy and some more shit into this connection. So she's trying to see what she's working with or whatever. Now, I say all that to say, because we should know by now that Christina is quite manipulative. So as she done brought her down here to this basement, showing her the corpse of William and the corpse of that white lady who was down at the tower at the Great White House that had all them dogs, that was comparing them to dogs. The white lady that Ruby has been running around in her flesh every time she take that potion. Yes, that white lady. Her corpse is down there too. Along with some other scientific, if you will, equipment and material. Really, this is kind of a mirror, okay, that's a running theme throughout this series. The scene is kind of mirroring the scenes with Letty's dark room. So, Letty ain't got corpses in her dark room. Howsoever, there are some corpses in like the base level of her house beneath the elevator and everything, leading to all that tunnel and stuff. A whole lot of goings on. But yeah, Christina bring her down here, showing her all this stuff, about to give her the rundown on everything. So we think, but we never can tell with your girl, because she always got a trick up her sleeve, and it's always something she ain't saying in the midst of her saying a whole lot. Now, they get to the bottom of the stairs, and Ruby is perturbed, rightfully perturbed and disgusted, shocked in a nigga named Paul by what she is seeing. Because Christina got them all strung up in here, laid on like some gurneys, some hospital bed like stuff, hooked up to like this IV, look like it's blood, or the potion is laced with their blood anyway. So yeah, but it's like they got a whole IV tube type drippage going into their arm, and I guess that's keeping their bodies at a level, like kind of mummifying them, but not quite keeping the body, I guess, warm enough and in some way active enough so that it's not totally dead. Like the flesh and the flesh lives on. Not exactly, well, I guess in certain ways the spirit will live on by way of the voice and stuff like that, being able to take them on as they were when they were alive in their body. So yeah, certain parts of their spirit and their flesh lives on. Oh, tisk. But Ruby asks her, did she kill them? And Christina tell her, no, they were already dead. I ain't even have to do all of that. That ain't the type of time I'm on, okay? And she goes on to say, basically all I did was savor them, and I transformed their blood into a potion. And she tells Ruby it's okay. Ruby is about to have a whole conniption, but she starts snapping off like, you have been lying to me this whole time. Nothing has been real. None of this stuff with William, none of that has been real. And Christina checked her like, no, boo. Everything that I told you is true, okay? That's where you wrong. I was in a different flesh, but what I said was the real. The story I told you about Captain Lancaster trying to kill him and all that, It was true. He did do that. And in fact, he succeeded. So that is how William died. And Ruby is like, so wait, all of this has been about you getting revenge for your dead lover? And Christina looks over her shoulder. She said, yeah, girl, I want revenge for William. But I want so many other things too. And Ruby like, oh, hell no. Christina is, like, 1 second, baby. Please hear me. These are my confessions. Just when I thought I said, yeah. So she goes on to say, my father was a leader in the order of ancient dawn. Ruby like, what the hell is that? Christina said, it's a group of powerful men who wields magic. They don't allow women to join, which is so backwards, so backwards, so weird, so a whole lot of tanks. So we're gonna hold that thought on it. But it is reminiscent of how in a lot of religions, they don't allow for women to speak the word. And that type stuff gives jealousy and a projection of fear. Honestly, most forms of oppression and discrimination give jealousy combined with irrational fear. And I feel like the irrational fear part comes from this irrational subconscious fear of feeling like you'll either be replaced or made extinct by the people that you are feeling the need to oppress, and or you're afraid of them being better than you and or realizing their worth and misusing it the way that you do. It's like you're guilty and you're guilty and you're afraid of, karma coming back as a punishment by way of the people you have unrightfully, quote unquote, punished. But we'll come back to all of them tanks. We're going to continue on with what Christina had to say. So yeah, she was saying that they don't allow women to join, and she begged her father to teach her anyway, but he refused. So she sought out William to seduce him into teaching her all of the ways. Because she wanted to prove that she could be better than any son that her father wished he had. But the more she learned, the more that she took in, the more she abracadabraed, honey, she started to get a bigger thirst, a bigger hunger, realizing how silly she was to limit her pursuit of magic around impressing her father. Girl, I heard that. I heard that. So, essentially, when William got killed, that thirst still remained and likely grew even bigger within her. And she put all of that into taking his spell and completing it. Okay? And that was the beginning of her bigger ambitions. She realized she could be so much more. Do things most people couldn't even imagine. And Ruby says, yeah, like fuck me as a man. Yeah, girl. But Christina further emphasizes that she never lied to Ruby, okay? The words might have came out of William's mouth, but they were her words. So Ruby putting her foot down and she said, I want to know everything. Right now, no more secrets, no more half-truths, no more lies or lying by omission, every fucking thing. And Christina says the whole truth involves the lost pages from the book of names and your family. So Ruby just gave this drastic look of confusion like, first of all, lost pages, book of names, my family, Drake. And this flips us to a scene that looks to be the same dream, or at least, a scene of the dream that Tick had been having about his ancestor running up at the burning house. Is giving tower moments. Yes. So again, seems to be the same dream that he was having. Miss Lady is down on the first floor, making her way to the exit out the front door of this big old mansion that is burning to ashes, honey. But this time, when she looks over her shoulder, headed towards that good old door, what she sees behind her ain't Tick this time, is Letty. And Letty seems to be a pregnant. And again, this is the same dream now. This is the same dream, but this time it's with Letty, and she is a pregnant. And at the very conclusion of Letty's dream, she realizes that she is good and a pregnant, and she begins to basically kind of burn up in the house. And this particular essence wakes her up, and she's touching herself like, wait a minute, huh? What is going on? Because all of it just felt way too real. She rolls over, notices that she's in the bed by herself, so she get up, walk into the front room, and Tick is sitting in the front room looking sad and shit. He basically done found out that he got basically a mark of death on his life, on his soul type shit. And that the plan of order is for him to be killed. And I'm wondering if his white ancestor set it up like that to basically, try to thinking long game type shit and just set it up for one way or another. The blackness that he let into his bloodline type shit is deleted. Because as we know, one of the only reasons Tick has had all this access to the order and all that is due to him being blood. Okay, him having that blood in him, and also on top of that, all these different, essentially it seems as though all these different spells and marks and imprints was put on him way before he was even conceived. So again, thinking major long game, I'm thinking they were to, tie that loophole up on the back end. So yeah, he's sitting in the front room looking clearly like he got a lot on his mind. Let it enter zone in there, and she like, you been up here all night? And she walks on in because he don't answer. He just look back at her and whatnot. And he just grabs her and starts to hold and kiss on her and all this good stuff, basically cherishing the moment. Because, like I said, he done saw what he done saw. And she is thoroughly embracing, of course, because, she just loved that man, okay? And she just had a terrible nightmare of sorts that just really freaked her out real bad. So they having this embrace and whatnot, and he abruptly jumps up and it's like, I translated about half the pages. The ceremony at Artem was complicated. They had this symbol written in chalk all over the lab, which makes me think it's important. And then, honey, they had all these weird mechanical elements that I had never seen before. So Letty is tied in through as she responds, and she just has this realization like, it's not as simple as just saying the words. Like, nah. It's way more layered than that, especially being the fact as Tick responds and goes on to say, like, yeah, Titus and Samuel and the entire lodge spent decades studying this stuff, and they all died at failed attempts of casting their spells. Bruh, so that type shit can have you shaking in your boots. Instead of more you know about your history, the state for you essentially kind of make yourself from repeating the bad elements that is. And I just feel like with what they just realized and what Tick just said, all that experience and studying and building themselves up with everything they did, they died at the hands of their expertise. Like, all the experience didn't stop them from self-destructing. And that can be thought of and applied in so many different ways in this show with all of the different characters, all of them in certain ways feeling constantly on the edge of self-destructing one way or another. And that's a very relatable feeling because life can certainly be lifing, And then you apply it in their sense with them, in their literal sense, when they're dealing with all of this like supernatural, extraterrestrial, scientific, merged with so many different elements of everything else. It's like, oh my gosh, like, it's kind of like they're saying, we battle not with flesh, but with spirit type shit. Like, that's the realization that they have in here. Very biblically communicated without being so on the nose with it. I think that's fire. Because they have been gradually realizing throughout these episodes that they have not just been battling with flesh, as in battling racism and oppression and these white people and the cops and the powers that be and all of that in the flesh, but they're realizing that they have also been battling them in the spirit, and now they really got to pick up their guns with it and go toe to toe. And even with all that and everything that they going through in this short little time, in Tick's mind, because he already like done seen the fate, whether he tries to flip the fate on his head or not, whether he tries to stop it or not, that's still a hell of a blow to take in the form of a revelation that you may self-destruct to your own shit in this short little time with this so much that you put into this particular journey that was just sprung upon your lap. You may end up having a similar fate and or no control of it at all. Ooh, honey. But Letty tries to reassure him, and she says, well, that hasn't happened to you. That hasn't happened to Hannah. A child, little do she know. But she was like, she managed to escape the fire. Talking about Hannah. Hannah is the lady, the young girl in the dream that's running out the house. And I believe that she's also pregnant at the time. Like, they're having a dream of something real that happened, but it's merged with a prophetic message that Hannah is trying to send to them by way of the dream realm. And kind of like having a foundation of all of the history and things that they've been learning as they have been going. So yeah, well, Letty's describing and saying, she wasn't scared either. She did not self-destruct. She ran right out the front door and chose herself and saved herself. But this perks Tick's ears up. And he like, wait a minute. How you know she ran out the front door? Because mind you, he done had the stream too. And Letty says, I mean, I don't, not really. This probably sounds crazy, but I think I had a dream about her this morning. And Tick is shocked, and a nigga named Paul. And he was like, so the dream, you were in a lodge while it burned around you? And she looking like, yeah. He like, I might have had the same dream. And Letty says, Hannah standing in the doorway. And she feel like I had been chasing after her. And she's, you know, she stopped because she finna say she pregnant. But she don't say that. Even though we know that that's what happened. That in a dream she was pregnant or whatever. But she don't say it. She tells him that she's not scared. Now, honey, I feel like that's a lie. Because the look on her face and everything, and just the circumstance, she was definitely scared. And it would make ever more sense to be scared in a situation like that. Because, honey, that is a lot, dream or not. But, again, she's trying to reassure him. She's not trying to get him all worked up about anything. So, like I said, she just is like, I'm chasing after her, but I'm not scared. Even though the house is burning around me. And she stops. And she like, wait, are we having the same dream? Why are we having the same dream? Tick says, I think Hannah might be trying to tell us something. You don't say. You don't say. Hannah's trying to tell you something. Duh. But I'm going to style them out because they've been going through a lot. So Tick is thinking that Hannah might be trying to warn them. And he says he could never hear her in the dream. Like, she be muttering something or something like that, but he can't hear nothing that she's saying. So he asks, can Letty hear her? And Letty say, nah, she just standing in the doorway, smiling with that book. And he like, what book? Now, I'm assuming that's the book of names, okay? But Letty says, all the things, okay? You running out this burning house, pregnant and everything. And you think to stop to grab a book. But then she realizes, yup, the book of names. So they had this realization together, and they're like, nah, it can't be. If she stopped to grab the book of names and ran on out with it, that means that that book has to be still somewhere in your family, in one of these estates, if you will, somewhere. And Tick is like, but I barely know anything about my mama's side, and she's the only one who survived the riots in Tulsa. And so this is also a revelation that his family had to have been practicing some form of magic before all of this stuff landed on their lap. Message. But Letty said, look, if the book of names is still out there somewhere, that's not just a bunch of spells that we coming upon, okay? That's also some instructions on how to cast them. Facts. So they can get some preventative measures to help them not make the same mistakes as those soldiers who fell on their own sword. And Tick finalizes the conversation in the scene by saying, Christina going after them pages. But we gonna get the whole damn book. Facts, I heard that. Now we catch up with Montrose and his little Latin lover, Sam. Okay, they done sponsored it the night together. Seem like they've been sponsoring a couple of nights together. Y'all know we last left them down there to the gay bar, the queer bar. I'm gonna say queer as an umbrella term for all of the queer people who fall under said umbrella. Shout out to the gang, all right? So yeah, we last left them down there at the queer bar. And Montrose was having a whole blooming butterfly moment. He was experiencing a euphoria of emergence from Le Closet. At least somewhere in the first beginning stages of that. And the fact that it's the first beginning stages is heavily emphasized to us by way of this here scene that they in. Because, honey, he was all up into it down there at the bar. He was feeling himself. He was kissing Sam all in the mouth in front of everybody. He was flopping and flouncing and gyrating all over on that land. Shamelessly. As he should. But it's giving a bit of buyer's remorse, or shall I say upgrade remorse, a little bit of it's like I stuck my big toe out the closet remorse. And we're gonna get into the specificities of that as Montrose wakes up, walks into the kitchen. Sam got, some real good love and soul music playing on the radio, and he cooking breakfast. And it's like most people would love to wake up to this, to they lover up and at them, setting a good vibe and ambiance amongst the house for you to wake up to, let alone the smell of some good breakfast, okay? Not only caring about your nutrition, but the manner of which you experience your nutrition early in the morning, all right? And Montrose is walking in there like he got egg on his face and not on his plate, looking real stank. And we don't love to see that. No, okay? So they are kind of a different type of mirror to each other. Sam is giving the sun and Montrose is giving moon energy, if you will. But he being polite about it at first. Okay? He being kind of polite about it at first, and he looks at him kind of, you know how you look at your lover and you still full of love for them, but you annoyed by them at the same time, and the duality of that is showing all in your face and in your body language, your posture, and the way you say, well, good morning. So that's what Montrose is giving as he say, well, good morning to your boy. And Sam is like, morning. And they kind of have this brief, awkward silence of looking at each other, but they looking at each other in two totally different ways. Montrose is kind of looking at Sam like he dressing him down, not in a good way, like annoyed. I love you, but I'm annoyed. You get on my nerves. I'm resentful of all this great ambiance and this good smelling breakfast that you is fixing for me. Like, how dare you be a ray of sunshine in my life right now while all of this darkness is going on? Montrose, please. And so Sam said he figured since he spent the night, it would only be right that he get up and make some breakfast. And Montrose said, nah, what you figured is since this was the first time I let you spend the night, you would make a big old production out of breakfast. And Sam clocks that loving shade and says, drop that needle on the record for me. And Montrose goes on ahead and obliges him. He's like, yes, sir, okay. He go drop that needle. And apparently it's a song that adorns them both. You know, we'll get into the songs in different videos. But so yeah, just as Montrose, you know, kind of allows himself to embrace more of the sweetness of this moment, Sam started talking too much. And he said, so I went to the store, and on the way, I ran into this woman with this cute little African scarf. Would you believe? She said she got it at Marshall Fields. That's that store that Ruby was down there working at as that white lady. Now, he's finding this funny because that store has a history of being discriminatory. But it seems as though, as of late, they have been being more welcoming to the peoples of color in a obligatory fashion. But the doors are open nonetheless. So Sam is chuckling and he like, I ain't never seen that nan colored going into that store. Now, while he's getting all types of humor and everything out of this, Montrose damn stomach done about dropped out his ankles because he like, you walking about my spot real early in the morning. Everybody's already suspecting stuff about us. I was just out with you the other day, kissing you all in the mouth in front of everybody and this and that and the third. And now here you go, walk to the store, talking to women's and carrying on, making yourself seen. And you know your talks a lot, so people got eyes on you. You're very noticeable and everything. And then you coming back to my apartment like you going like This is all very domestic, not very demure, the way you are carrying yourself in a situationship, knowing that I ain't all the way up out the closet. I only stuck my big toe out, okay? I only stuck my big toe out, and here you go, tugging on my ankle, talking to people, being friendly and shit. Not to mention, Montrose puts it together and he like, that lady that she was talking to, her name is Bernice, and she is my neighbor. And he says this very gauntly, very dry and gaunt. Okay, so much so that it finally alerts Sam and kind of snatches him up off that cloud nine that he had been on this whole time. He is noticing not only the irritation from Montrose, but that it has now grown by way of this conversation and what was just, you know, shared by your boy Sam. So he was like, look, I saw her at the bus stop. She didn't see me come in or out of here. Montrose is still staying silent, but he is clearly bothered. Sam trying to do damage control. Montrose is sounding like the typical ungrateful, abusive person now. Where he sits down at the table and he's like, he's just looking for something to complain about at this point. Now, granted, he asks if the bacon is pork. And he's saying that he don't eat pork. I understand because I don't eat pork either. And if you know me, you know that I don't eat pork. And you should not ever put that on my plates. So, strike one, okay? All the while, Montrose might just be capping, because Sam responds and he says, honey, when did you get off pork? And Montrose is talking about, they ain't had no beef sausage down there. Okay, not even answering the question. They're talking about, they ain't had no beef sausage down there. And Sam say, honey, even the Queen of Sheba herself don't eat no beef sausage. What is you talking about? So Montrose further deflects and starts talking about, why the grits so runny? You know I like my grits firm. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I'm with him on that because I prefer my grits to be firm as well. Howsoever, house and never, like I said. Montrose has put his abusive hat on because he is totally misusing and passive aggressively attacking and tearing down Sam's acts of love. Basically because he feels limited in his ability and capacity and freedom to receive and embrace and really appreciate said love. So he's trying to make Sam feel bad for his own limitations. This whole thing is just low down. But yeah, he talking that shit. And Sam snaps back at him and said, now look, what you gonna moan about next, honey? Huh? What you gonna moan about next? You gonna say that the coffee is too wet? And Montrose is just as shady. Boots pop back talking about it's too much sugar in it. Boy. Now Montrose, honey, you know that them's is fighting words. What exactly is you trying to do? You love this man, okay? Is that how you show your love? Because you do not have to do all of this. That was an unnecessary low blow. And you know, like, we here and you understand the struggle, my dude. Bruh. Now granted, there's colorism in the gay world and stuff like that, and I have noticed a bias with that when it comes to feminine men who may not even be gay and gay men. Dark-skinned men tend to get it worse because it's like people have a hard time wrapping their mind around. It's like no matter how quote-unquote masculine the man carries themselves, people can't put gay and dark-skinned man in their head together with harmony because they think gay automatically means feminine. And due to like the toxic teachings that have been passed down generation from racism and slavery and all of that, dark skin is not taught to be thought of as feminine. It's taught that dark skin is like has no ability to have feminine abilities. It's masculine, and that's just what it is. And lighter skin and or white skin is the feminine. So even though lighter skinned gay men and white men still experience homophobia, the colorism that the dark skinned men experience and dark skinned trans women experience and the liking is often made worse by that colorism because people just like be very disturbed by dark skin in harmonization or even in the same existing breathing realm as something feminine. Any feminine attributes. Folks have a real hard time wrapping their head around that, and a lot of people act out on that through hate and violence energy and sometimes violent acts. So there's that it's a similar thing from where Letty and Ruby were having an argument in I believe it was the first episode, as it came down to them applying to work at Marshall Fields. And as it applies to a whole lot of other different conversations that they have, though, it's like Letty is able to see things through a freer lens than Ruby, even though they both experience racism and misogyny. But Ruby's sense of freedom is not as strong because she has extra hurdles and metaphorical chains around her sense of freedom than Letty by way of colorism. So just as with, like I said, Letty and Ruby both experiencing racism, but they don't both experience colorism. And with that, they both experience misogyny, but Ruby is more likely to experience more misogynoir than Letty due to colorism. Whereas we have Montrose and Sam here who both experience homophobia, but they don't both experience colorism. And because Sam is both light-skinned and Latino, he doesn't experience racism in the same depth that Montrose does, being the fact that Montrose is a monoracial black person. So it could even be inferred that in some of these moments where Montrose is being passive aggressive like this and resentful of their connection and relationship, a part of that could also be him punishing Sam for certain privileges that he has, that Sam has, that Montrose does not. Even though it's not Sam's fault, Sam is the closest to him, and he's a constant reminder of a lot of things. So the same way that Montrose would punish Tick for Montrose's limitations, it seems as though Montrose is exhibiting the same behavior of punishing Sam for Montrose's own limitations. So like I said, Montrose up here being super duper shady with the low blows, talking about it's too much sugar in the coffee, being real subliminal and underhanded right now. And Sam has had enough. And he said, look, every time we start getting real close and comfortable and everything, you make it a point to show me that you don't care about me. And Montrose, I'm like, did I say that? Don't put no goddamn words in my mouth, honey. I've been to shove the plates in your mouth with how you up here acting. You ain't got to say Nathaniel. Your stank energy is funking up the streets. Is that a sewer? Or is it your energy? Hell. So Sam gets up and like, baby, I'm not gonna let you play me crazy this round. You're not gonna sit up and gaslight me. See, he had a terminology back then to say gaslight. His term was play me crazy this round. I ain't gonna sit up here and let you play me crazy. Okay, and so in other words, gaslights, because Montrose is definitely gaslighting, and he ain't having it. And so now Montrose is all apologetic because Sam is putting his dick on the table and his foot down, rolling his neck and snapping his finger and switching on out like, honey, have a good day, as he should. And now Montrose want to fight for it. Now Montrose want to try to show some tender love and care. But oh no, Sam gets on about the door. And Montrose grabs a hold to his wrist. And Sam looked like he gonna give him a little bit of the time of the day. But it's been a consistent pattern throughout this scene, throughout their interaction in this scene, that as soon as they start embracing some sweetness and some comfort and some mutual submission with each other, something happens that completely disrupts it. And it reminds me of the concept that was being discussed by Ruby about being a girl interrupted. You know what I'm saying? So just another theme there. But yeah, every time they get into the sweetness, about to have some, potential goodness, something interrupts it. If not, Montrose sabotaging himself. But this time, he ain't really sabotaged the sweetness like talking about, but in a way he may feel like he sabotaged their privacy, because their interaction has carried on out into the hallway, whereas Letty and Tick are coming on up the hallway. And they see this embrace. Now see, nowadays, we probably, it would be some people that would call it out, but a lot of us would not think nothing too highly of, not nothing too highly, but nothing too telling, nothing too much about Montrose grabbing Sammy by the wrist, like, hey man, hold on. But especially back in this time period in the 1950s, there were, I was listening to something discussed, somebody from like the early stages of hip hop, or just a heavy hitter in hip hop in the history of it or whatever. But they were talking about the change of gayness being accepted by black men. And of course, they were speaking specifically to hip hop, but basically to black men and men of color. That back in the day, there are very strict rules on showing that, you open to the gay, and to show that you're not with that gay shit, like talking about. And so one of those things back in the day is that type interaction. You grabbing your quote unquote homeboy's arm like that. Y'all looking at each other in the eye in such a way. You up around this man, he coming up out your house real early in the morning, and you out with him, got your shirt open and stuff. That stuff was more high alerting back in the day, much more so than it is now. A lot of things, and it's not perfect, like I said, but a lot of things the men folk can do, and won't nobody, in fact, it'll be people speaking up like, that don't mean they gay. You need to mind your business. It's okay for men to, show each other affection and it not be gay, this and that and the third. But back then, no. So Montrose running up behind him and grabbing him by the wrist like that, being all in and out the house with him all early in the morning and stuff like that, got his shirt all open with him and this and that, that automatically alerts people to being like, y'all gay, y'all love us, and we ain't having it, okay? More intense homophobia. So especially being the fact that now there may be, some level of safety that they feel, considering the fact that it is Letty and Tick catching them up, but the Tick aspect is what shakes this up, because Montrose feels as though he has an image to maintain with his son. And especially back in the day, it's a lot of people in general, but women, who would not allow for their kid to be around a gay man, whether that's their daddy or not. Okay, so also keeping that considered, the extra layers of why Montrose would feel like this is a huge detriment to him being respected and revered by his son. And just think, Montrose's stomach was dropping all out of his ankles by way of Sam telling the story that he had done talked to one of his neighbors as he was heading in and out the store and all this and that. And it's just like, had you just been nice to your boy, embrace that lovely dinner with your boy, he wouldn't be trying to storm all out like this here, and y'all be all out in the open with your stuff and getting caught up like this. This could have went totally different. But now you done ran yourself up out the frying pan and into the fire. But it ain't even gotta be all of that. House or never. Got to get through the storm before you get to the sunlight, because they looking at each other. Everybody looking at each other. Sam looking at Tick. Montrose looking at Tick and Letty. And Tick and Letty is looking at both of them like, oh, well then. Oh. And Tick is like, oh, so it's true. It's true. My father's a queer. My father's a queer. My father's a queer. My father's a fucking queer. If you know, you know. That's a movie reference. But yeah, Tick steps up and it's like, baby, so it's true. Sam steps on off. He gonna get the fuck up out of Dodge right quick, right fast. He ain't trying to stay around for that breakdown. He ain't trying to have no problems. And Montrose just stand in disbelief. And Tick talking about, you were, Tick essentially calls him a British cigarette. What they call cigarettes in England. The slang term that they use for cigarettes. That's what he called Montrose. And Montrose goes from being frightened by the situation to clearly hurt by the look on his face. But he channels this into rage. And he takes his shirt off and it's like, I'm still your goddamn daddy, and you will respect me. And he charged at him to push him and everything. He telling you, get out. Don't you ever call me by my fucking name. Now, y'all know Montrose can holler. I don't even blame him in this moment. Like, I understand that Tick is confused and there's a whole lot of emotions coming up in this moment. Because of what he realizes, and we'll get into that as we, let the scene flow. But you ain't have to call him no British cigarette. That was just straight up disrespectful. All at the same time, Montrose, that clown came back to bite. Now, karma is not a punishment system. Howsoever, it is a system of what you put out, you get back. And you was just up in there, okay, spewing some rays of homophobia to your lover, expecting him to think that that means that you care about him or something. So, just seemed like that clown kind of came back to bite. But I still understand, the fact and why Montrose is hurt, because damn. And it's like exactly what he was fearing kind of end up showing himself. I'm sure he was very afraid of Tick losing respect and, fear, because that's a lot of what's been passed down. It's been called respect by them, but it's really been fear more so. A lot of people make that mistake. I talk about it a lot over here. And a whole lot throughout the series, of course, because, history. So, yeah, the veil has lifted. The veil has lifted, and Montrose is staring his fear in the face. And Tick is staring his trauma in the face. And he asks, did mama know? And Montrose says that she did. She did know. So it's a whole lot more than what meets the eye with this whole situation. And Tick is not only shocked at a nigga named Paul, but he is just terribly confused to the point of hurt. He is distraught. And that bottom lip is quivering. And all of this is just having a whole lot of things, a whole lot of dots connect for him. And he just storms off. Child. Whatever it was they was there for, he don't even want to know no more at this point. And Montrose is also distraught. Nobody knows what to say. Nobody knows what to do. But Montrose is just like, why y'all come here? Like, why is y'all here right now? What is it? But y'all, let's just flash the Tick running on out to looking like, the back of the complex. He's just trying to get some air, let out some steam. And he pacing and backing and a forthing, huffing and a puffing. Good thing ain't no straw or stick houses to blow down back there, because he would have totally demolished them. But Letty runs on down there to check on him. And she's approaching timidly, because Tick done already showed that he can be very unpredictable when he gets in these types of stages. But I also think that Tick reacted in this way, and it's in this particular stage here to prevent what happened last time. So we love to see the crows. So Letty is basically, trying to figure out how to approach him and, what to say to him. Do she give him the information that she just got from Montrose, or do she address this elephant that is all around the atmosphere head on? So she decides to lead with information. And she says that she asked him how Montrose found out about his mama's family, about Tick's mama's family. And he said she had a cousin that survived the riots too. He tracked a friend of hers down in St. Louis. If they can get Woody, it's only a 3-hour drive. So Tick's like, okay, yeah, okay. He hearing it, but he can't hardly focus on it right now. And he just like, he said, okay. And then it seems he's just propelled to just go ahead and express what's on his heart. So he say that his daddy always taught him that he had to beat him so that he wouldn't be soft, which is something that is and or has been very common throughout Black family generations and dynamics. Very toxic. And he goes on saying, like, kind of laughing and keep from crying, but he's like, that's not even the real fucked up part. The real fucked up part is that I told myself it was because he cared about me. And child, a lot of parents will say that as well. I'm beating you because I love you. Then wonder how people get out here and be staying in domestic violence relationships talking about, they're just hitting me because they love me. That's what you taught them. That's what you taught them, Saint Tink. That it's time and a place to hit your lover because you love him. No. No. And Tick is realizing that wasn't none of that coming from a place of love. And it's not to say that Montrose doesn't love Tick, but that particular act, those particular acts were not coming from a place of love. They were coming from a place of fear and self-hate. Tisk. And that's what Tick says. Well, not exactly like that, but he was like, them whoopings wasn't never about me. He's up there beating my ass and whooping my ass and carrying on because he's a... And he stops himself from saying the British cigarette word again. But we get the gist of what he's saying. His daddy was really beating him because he hated himself for being gay. And he was afraid of Tick to also be gay. And just whatever other baggage that Montrose be carrying and don't deal with, he was just unloading all of that onto Tick. It didn't have nothing to do with love. It was more from a place of hate and fear. Self-hate specifically. Woo! Of the child. Now, next thing, we see Hippolyta packing up Woody for to go on her own little voyage. And she's thanking Ruby for babysitting Dee. And she apologizing in a way because she know it was last minute and all this and that and third. And Ruby said, it's all good. I had to get out of the place that I was staying for a bit anyway. And Hip calls over to Dee and it's like, you ready to go over the checklist? And Dee is not with it. She is over it. She like, nah, it don't matter no way. Screw all that. So Hip is basically, saying to Ruby that Dee ain't really been into going over checklists and doing a lot of the traditions that she used to do with her daddy when he was still alive, specifically when it comes to traveling for the road. Like, she ain't even came up with no comic or nothing to hand off for the excursion. Po Lil D. Po Lil D. And Ruby's like, look, I'll see if I can get her and we get some friends to come over and we have a little party while mom is away. See if that'll pick up her spirits. So she thanked Ruby again and she's getting ready to head out. And just as so, Tick and Letty walk up. Ruby kind of snarls at them and walks away. Mind you, Ruby is newly educated to the fact that her family, quote unquote, is mixed all up into this magic and science stuff with Christina and everything that her family got going on. So her snarl at them is on some extra shit now because she got all of it on her mind as they head up. And she probably already suspecting y'all coming over here so the child can ask for something to contribute to all of this hickory dickory dock abracadabra stuff that y'all got going on. And of course, they dare to ask for Woody. And Tick is saying this to Hippolyta, and Hippolyta is like, look, I got somewhere to be. I'm going on my own journey, road trip. You can already tell that she is not trying to be bothered. And Tick is talking about, look, we were talking with that we could buy her Woody for like a day or two, do some things, okay? And Hippolyta said, well, look, obviously you cannot. And Tick is like, look, it's important. She said, so it's my trip. Now, it would come off like Hip is just annoyed with the fact that they steady over there asking for their car. But it's also the fact that she is frustrated by the fact that she know that they have been lying to her about what happened to George. So she don't know what to think about them at this time. Because she's tired of people lying to her and imprisoning her to their lies and essentially their lack of faith in her. Because that's where it's coming from. You don't think she can handle it and all this other stuff. And that make her feel like, oh, you must think I'm some punk biatch. I know punk biatch, okay? But Tick trying to lay it on thick, talking about Uncle George would not want you driving around, chill. Now, honey, Hip snap and say, so who told you to watch me? Was it George? George told you to watch me before that sheriff you say shot him? Baby, I've been watching myself for a long motherfucking time. And I don't need your permission to do anything, Mr. Sir. So back up. Back up. Just mind your business. That's all. Just mind your business. And she said what she said. And the look on her face said it even louder for her too. And Tick seems to have gotten the message. Back it up. And she backs on out and heads on by her business. So they decided to look like they're taking the bus. Yup, look like y'all taking the bus. And he said if they leave now, then maybe they can get there on time still. But let it say, yeah. And you can tell that she thinking real hard. And Tick just catch her up on it and it's like, look, if you want to stay, I can go by myself. You stay here, you talk to your sister, deal with that. And so that's what she decides to do. And it transitions on up. Ruby is sitting in the window and look like the kitchen area. And Letty walks in. It's a real good shot. But Letty walks in to talk to her. And Ruby is just looking done up. Like, she really ain't trying to hear Nathaniel. Even though we know low-key, high-key, she want to hear what's going on, because she been getting lied to and just strung along in this whole big old thing all this time by everybody. So it's like she's sick of it, but she still want to know what all this is all at the same time. But Letty kicks it off asking her where she been staying. And Ruby say, how many days after I moved out did you start to care? Ooh, burn. So Letty said, honey, things just been getting away from me a bit lately. And that's understandable because there has been a whole lot going on. But Letty always got some excuses. But Ruby is like, okay, go on here, girl. Do tell. What's been going on? So Letty says, it don't matter. It's no excuse. Okay, that's some good accountability, some good growth right there. And Letty goes on to say, our last fight was the worst, and honestly, it was my fault. Y'all know that their last fight was about that house and the money and all that. Letty said that it came from their mama. Maybe that's what she really thought, or she was just saying that to steer Ruby off from all of the chicory dickory dock abracadabra stuff that they got going on. Either way, it wasn't a good idea. But yeah, that house and everything, of course, it came from Christina. So yeah. But Letty saying it was all her fault and all that. She should have told Ruby about the money coming from mama. Okay, and this is the part that kind of confuses me. I'm still like, I know what I just said, but I'm also still kind of confused. So was there actually some money? Okay, yes, I am thinking that there was actually some money, because when she spit it out like adamantly. So I'm thinking that, when they got into it, she just spit that out like in frustration. So I'm thinking that there was some actual money, but Ruby was still lying. I mean, Letty was still lying at the same time, because that house did not come from no money that they mama left. That house came from Christina. So yeah, a truth and a lie all at the same time. They just missed a whole lot up between the two of them. But Letty is saying that she should have told Ruby about the money coming from mama. And she was like, all these things that she always spent talking about and thinking about their mama that she hated, it never occurred to her that she could actually become her. Boom. So she had her own parallel with what I was discussing about Tick from, I believe it was last episode. Make sure that you caught up on all the reviews and everything, because it's a whole lot of themes that reoccur in parallel throughout the different episodes. And so you can get an in-depth description and understanding about what I was talking about Tick overly identifying with his victimhood, with Montrose having been abusive to him as he was growing up, and him thinking that, he could never be like Montrose, he could never be an abuser, but then a circumstance kind of brought that side out of him in a way, like talking about. So yeah, Letty is having that same realization here. So Letty says, I may not be a hustler like her, but I tried to hustle you, and that was fucked up, and for that, I'm sorry. So Ruby finally looks at her, but she puts the shades back on. And she says, I never heard mama apologize in all of her life. So maybe y'all aren't exactly the same. Okay, redemption. Okay, a little slick compliment from Ruby to Letty. We made some strides forward there. And all that took was some accountability, responsibility, acknowledgement, and an apology. Honey, and a lot of times, folks, it can be just that simple. But we'd rather make it hard. Now next we pick back up with Hippolyta, and she is making her way downtown, walking fast, driving something, whatever. She's riding on this open road, listening to her music. Seems as though she's, doing her best to keep her spirits high along this ride. And she's looking at the map and everything that's on the little clues and notes that she left on there. And this black lady on a motorcycle cruises past her, like comes up behind her and cruises past her or whatever, and they make some eye contact. Seems as though they have some sort of quick embrace of solidarity amongst each other. It was real cute. And she's sorting through her box, her little picnic basket of stuff that she packed for herself to eat on the way, and she finds this comic by D. So it seems as though, even though D wasn't like happy-go-lucky and doing all of the most when she was getting ready to go, like how she usually would do, it seems as though she did at least slip her a little comic in her picnic of baskets. So Ruby just pulled that, discovered it. Not Ruby, honey. Hippolyta just discovered it, and it really warms her heart. And we love to see it. As she continues on cruising on down the road. And then we transition to Tick pulling up in St. Louis on that good old Greyhound bus. So he done made it on by his folks' house. And we hear, I guess it's like one of his great aunts. And they're having dinner. Good old, big old soul food dinner. She offering him more macaroni and cheese and stuff. I want some. But her name is Miss Osberta. And Tick begins to ask her, how did she know his cousin's Ethel? Okay, so he asks, how does she know his cousin Ethel? So basically, this ain't one of his great aunts. This is a friend to the family type shit. Okay, so she said, Both of their husbands served on the deacon board at First Baptist Church. Sherman and Hub was married for 30 years. And he said, so y'all met at church and became and stayed free. And she said, oh yes, yes. Not long after Sherman went on to glory, Ethel's husband passed too. Interesting. She said it was hard, honey, but they just didn't want to be two lonely widows no more. So one day, Ethel say to her Birdie, that's what she used to call her Birdie. She don't know what's left for two old gals like them, but this show ain't it. And she said, you asking about your mama's people, huh? Ethel loved to talk about them. They were so close growing up. So Tick said she ever say anything about a book of names? And Miss Osberta said she don't recall that. Wait a minute, hold on. You know, she do remember her saying something about some family book, some old family book. But the way Ethel talk about it, Osberta thought that maybe she was referring to some old family photo album or a family Bible or something, which is understandable because those things are common. But it makes you think. As common as it is, how many of us in real life, black people, people of color, black people specifically, descendants of slaves specifically, I would even say, African people, people who are from Africa or they're like first, second, third generation, whatever, what have you. How many of us have actually heard and or seen in a slick manner some old family book, some old family Bible or photo album or whatever being talked about and passed around the family like it's a secret or something, like they don't want you to know too much about it, get your hands on it or whatever, what have you. And it's actually a bunch of trickery, dickory, dock, abracadabra up in there. Got my good eye on it. But Tick was saying, hey, that might be it. And I was wondering if she might have told you anything about it because we've been trying to track it down. And I was about to say, I'm sorry, it's gone. It's gone, baby. Them white folks burned everything up in the massacre. The Tulsa massacre, I believe is what she was referring to also. Which I think, I don't know, don't let me get to talking about that. Don't let me start trying to make that connection because I don't want to get stuck in a tangent. It's going to be long enough. But yeah. Oh, wait, so I am going to address it real fast because I had a light bulb moment right before I stopped the recording that time. Those are two different burnings. The burning that they're dreaming about with Hannah and the Tulsa riots, the massacre, are two different burnings. But I do see that being a thing of them showing like a parallel, a history repeating itself one way or another through these burnings and fires, okay? And seems as though that book had done survived many of them fires. But as this conversation continues, I'm a little suspicious because Miss Osberta kind of quickly changed the subject and started asking Tick if he ever seen a photo of his cousin Ethel. And he like, no. So she said, well, let me go ahead and get that photo album real quick. Now, don't get up. Don't get to walking through my house looking at stuff, finding stuff that don't nobody want you to find. She didn't say all that, but that's what I interpreted after she, changed the subject like that and then said, oh, let me go get the album. Oh, no, don't get up. Don't get up. You already know what that means. She don't want you walking around the house or something that she don't want you to find. It's something that she don't want you to see. All of these, like, normalized little regulated cues and finicky stuff that be going on in a lot of different black people's families that we just think, oh, they just don't want you walking through the house. They just don't want you touching nothing, But no, you're hiding something very important and very, very major to the history of the family. Probably. I ain't saying that that's all the time, but I'm saying that it's very likely that it's a lot of time and very common that all these little weird gestures that we normalize as black people just being black people. Oh, you're hiding stuff what you got. Child. Moving on. So, Ticket's left sitting at the table kind of looking crazy and sighing and a little frustrated because he like, okay, that don't seem to have gotten me nowhere. But we transition to Mayfield and we see what looks to be Woody pulling on up in the dark in somewhat the woods, but at a place, honey. Where is you at? But we don't stay there to find out just yet. We transition back to the house and Hippolyta's house, that is. And Dee got some friends over. And Letty is also there, and they all playing cards. Now, I don't know if they knew or not, if they meant for that to be like a form of symbolism, because they play a multitude of games as Dee has people over. I'm not going to get into all of them just yet. I'm going to stick to what's in the episode. But in this particular scene, they are playing cards. They're probably playing spade or blackjack or something. But those playing cards can also be used as tarot cards, as tarot cards were originally playing cards. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering from the stuff that I read on specifically tarot cards, what we understand to be tarot cards, were the original playing cards, spade cards, all of that. And it just, evolved and expanded into a multitude of different forms. And now we have those decks of playing cards people play spades with and blackjack and all that. And then you also have, what we know today as tarot cards. But even still, you can use those playing cards as tarot cards. Okay, so just pointing out the way that different forms of quote unquote magic and spiritualism is hidden in plain sight and very much so a part of our everyday lives, our childhoods, our pastimes, our forms of entertainment and fun. So yeah. The kids is hungry and they steady asking when is dinner gonna be ready. So Letty gets on up to go into the kitchen and ask Ruby when is dinner gonna be ready. But Ruby is already over her shoulder, like, don't be coming at her asking me when dinner gonna be ready. It's gonna be ready when it's ready, Freddie. Letty. But so Letty is like, okay, cool, I ain't gonna ask. But I will go back to my other question that you did not answer, which was, where you been staying, Miss Lady? And Ruby says, still on the north side. So Letty like, okay. So with a white man. Yeah. But Ruby says, seems you ought to be concerned with your own love life. Your boyfriend paying any rent yet? Okay. It seems as though Atticus is the only man from the north side I know without a job. So what is he doing to keep himself busy? Just clocking her all the way up. You didn't even have to do all that, Miss Mamas, but she did. And they having a little cute little friendly chuckle about it or whatever. And Letty says, well, look, he's just good, real good around the house, real helpful and handsy with everything around the house. Okay. And Ruby said, yeah, that house needs as much help in hands as possible. She ain't lying. And she said, well, it looked like you and Mr. Fix-It were trying to hit the road earlier. What's it giving? And she said Tick just had some family business in St. Louis. And Ruby said, well, why didn't you go? She said, because I had my own family business. Her. Okay. So Ruby's just like, yeah, girl, whatever. Get over here and taste this. What's it missing? So Letty goes up to attempt to taste it. She barely got near it before she started getting all queasy and nauseous and everything. And she like, is it garlic up in there? And Ruby said, yeah, it's garlic up in there. You love garlic. Like, what is going on? And Letty said, I don't know, I might be developing some allergies or something. And Ruby said, that way you're pregnant with Junior, Mr. Fix-It. So Letty runs on up into the room, puts her head in the window because this thing gave her some flashbacks of that dream, I'm sure, when she actually was pregnant. Now we up here in real time like, oh shit. So now she probably thinking like, damn, is Hannah also trying to tell me that I'm pregnant? Oh gosh, oh my gosh. So yeah. She up there, she gets to looking around. She's in Hippolyta's room. How do we know this? Because she looks to the side and she is shocked in a nigga named Paul about something, but it don't reveal what she shocked in a nigga named Paul about yet. But I know, okay? We transition back to Tick over to Osberta's house, and she's showing him all the pictures in the photo album. And she like, guess who that is? You know who that is? And all this and that. And the phone is ringing. Okay, so Osberta is like, now who would that be at this time of night? Goes on over to answer the phone. Tick is looking at them pictures, look like he done discovered something in them pictures himself. Goes and looks in the mirror, finds a mark on him, a little birthmark or whatever. I guess that he also noticed on Ethel and or one of the other family members up out of that photo album. So honey, just making a whole lot of connections right here, a whole lot of connections being made at one time. So the phone is for him. And who is it? Letty. And she tells him that Hippolyta has Hiram's orrery in her room. Yup, Hiram's orrery in her room, honey. Hippolyta's room. So Letty said she must have taken it from the house when she had that party. Absolutely she did. Absolutely she did. And Tick said, well, how you know that? How you know she got it in her room and all that? And Letty said, baby, because I'm sitting up here looking at it and it has like a set of coordinates engraved in the top. The way she was acting earlier, I know that she thinks we lied to her about George. Well, you did. You did. So she know what she know. What she thinks is what she know. Booski. So they're making a correlation that Hippolyta is not on a guy's trip, okay? And Letty says, if she is headed where that thing say that she headed, where it's leading her, she is in danger, Molly. She is in danger. And Ruby, oh, knows herself, is staring to the cracks, listening at everything. Now, we flip back to Hippolyta, where she at, where that orrery done led her. And it's this whole building or whatever that to me looked like a factory / barn / lair. Looked like it's a telescope or some type of contraption up in there. If she walking all around, looking around, trying to figure things out. And it's a whole lot of gets and gadgets and buttons and a freaking ignition looking thing that is identical to the top part, the engraving that I read off earlier and that Letty was just talking about. So identical ignition, big ignition like thing where Hippolyta had pulled the key out on the orrery is one on this big contraption. So she knows that she where she posed to be. And that's another mirroring element at that. There's another mirroring element going on there. But basically let her know that she in the right spot and she understands the assignment. And she puts the key from the orrery in there, turns it on in the ignition, and the machine winds down. Then we get all this mysterious music. She starts to poking and punching buttons and moving stuff on the thing. Now it's lighting up. The energy is pulsating. It's kicking off. It's doing its thing. Okay? And she is excited. She gonna turn some more stuff. She gonna flick it some more. Now the numbers on it is counting up and down and up and down and then back and forth. And she says mass, rotation, velocity, and radius. The length of time it takes for each planet to travel around two suns. 433, 1, 2, 4. All of that. She's taking all the notes down. Okay? All of the calculations that are conducive to her discovery. And she is very enthralled of it. It's projecting all of these different equations to her. And honey, she is a good one. This is a whole different type of intelligence, because I am intelligent, you know what I'm saying? I'm intelligent, but when it comes to math, honey, it'd be a whole nother story. So all of these equations being spit out at her, it takes it's just a whole different type of thinking and perceiving. Not saying that I wouldn't be able to do it, but it just take me a whole lot more to take that type of information in. Like I would have to learn it in a different way. But enough about me. More about Hippolyta and what she's discovering about this orrery. So yeah, she's taking all of the notes. Excited, yet also a little bit overwhelmed by everything that's being spit out to her. And she's so enthralled in this too that I feel like she got a little bit too comfortable and kind of forgot where she was and what's going on. And maybe she just so enthusiastic and tunnel vision about her goals that she really can't even care about that. But in a way she kind of needed to, because now she getting broke in on and they like, what the fuck is going on in here? How did you get that on? It's some officers, of course, some white officers, and they surrounding her. It's just two of them, but they surrounding her and questioning her and being real aggressive with her and asking her a bunch of questions like, how did you know how to turn this on? How do you know where they said got a gun pointed on it and everything? They is acting real suspicious, okay? So they trying to gang up on this lady, and everybody is the boxing now, and as soon as the stuff is about to pop off, tick, pop out, and start throwing them thunder cookies upside everybody's head who he can find. Child, they done bop Hippolyta upside the head and knocked her back. Tick gets over there still fighting, throwing people around, trying to keep him up off his aunt, trying to save her, okay? Now she crawling around. She got a gun in her hand, prepared to shoot. And it's just pure chaos. A portal is opening up. She trying to see for the shoot the officer that's trying to attack Tick, and Tick is trying to attack him. So she's trying to gauge her aim to make sure that she shoot the right person. And all of them start to notice that this machine is going haywire. This portal is opening, and what is we gonna do? Tick start throwing the officer up off of him, ends up throwing the officer into the portal. Hippolyta shoots the other officer that's getting ready to jump Tick from behind. And so now they still up here. Everybody's just looking shocked, and a nigga named Paul, and don't really know what to do. But then, as they staring, trying to figure it out, Hippolyta and Tick get sucked into the portal. But it seems as though they get spit out into two different dimensions, into two different experiences. And Hippolyta in particular kind of morphs into this comet type shit and ends up being projected onto the outer layer of the earth, maybe. Maybe it's on the moon. Maybe it's on a totally different planet. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. But not for real. This is a very loaded episode, and it's gonna have to be a two-parter. Otherwise, this video is going to be stupendously long, and I really don't mind having like real long videos. But as far as the space that I need on my phone with all the content that I'm trying to create right now, I'm gonna have to do this as a two-parter, and you know that will also help with my posting. You know, instead of one video, posting two, have more for the algorithm and everything. So yeah. For now, I have milked this cow dry. This whole first part, and it's right at, well, I'm stopping right at the 29-minute mark, but you might as well say at the 30-minute mark. So yeah, thus far in this first part, we covered a whole lot of discoveries. Discovery that the Book of Names is somewhere within Tick's family. We have discovered that Letty is more than likely pregnant. We have discovered that Ruby has discovered for a fact that they have been lying to her about what happened to George. Ruby discovers, and you know, is allowed to discover what Christina has been up to and how she did the potion and where her motivation is and everything. And we also discovered a whole lot of depths of Montrose and Sam's relationship. And even more about how all of these people have so many parallels and how all of these people have so many secrets and toxic dynamics passed down through their generations and generations and generations. Now, Hippolyta done been spit out into this portal, this different dimension, perhaps a different planet. And we're going to go through the depths of her intergalactic journey, if you will, in the second part. But with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this count your right. And I'm thoroughly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe so that you can be one of the first to be back through these queenly quarters for the next time. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in always light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.